Hello and welcome to a beautiful Friday on Crypto My God. I am focusing mostly on the Roman Storm trial because it is of the utmost importance, and luckily it is beginning to make waves internally around the crypto scene. So let's get into it. So this morning, the SDNY is actually dragging in some external bigger players from the crypto scene. That being said, we're talking about Dragonfly Capital, the venture capital investors of Roman Storm's Tornado Cash, and they're calling out specifically Tom Schmidt and Hasib Qureshi, two partners on the fund itself. And this is a big thing to include, right? Their homes were raided. This is no small task. Now, Hasib has generally been silent on this, but they came out today with a post basically saying that we can no longer remain silent, talking about how Dragonfly invested in PepperSec, the developers of Tornado Cash, back in 2020. And to shorten down this post, he says, hey, we ran this by legal. We saw that everything they were doing was compliant and that everything going on with Tornado Cash should be okay. That's why they made the investment. They had no intentions on the product and the protocol being used for money laundering or North Korean involvement or anything. So they even stand by in bold, we therefore stand by our investment. And it's pretty wild that come 2023, they receive a DOJ subpoena and, of course, with full cooperation, continue to participate in this case. But what's interesting and sort of the reason this came out was that Tom Schmidt had planned to plead the fifth, and that is being rejected. So he is going to be dragged into this trial. Now, one of the interesting things to note here is that Ethereum core developer Loon actually sued the Department of the Treasury around Tornado Cash's appearance on the OFAC list, saying that this is a blacklisted company, that participating in this is being treated as aiding and abetting a foreign adversary, so on and so forth. And lo and behold, he actually won. This did force Tornado Cash to be removed from the OFAC list. So if you want to learn a little bit more about some of the history behind the protocol and how the government has treated it, you can hop in here. This is in the sources. And what's interesting here is that even after this has been settled, there is the continued pursuit by the Southern District of New York for Roman Storm and his partner Aleski Pertsev over in Holland. And both trials are doing everything they can, pulling out all the stops to paint these two gentlemen as evil. And of course, they're bringing up conversations around the Torn token, around any sort of profitability, trying to propose that this was a money laundering campaign really run for profit by the two founders. Now, in crypto land, everything has a token. If it's up, there's no reason why they shouldn't be discussing selling into some sort of profit. I mean, developers should be paid for their work, so that's going to be a hard thing to sort of put on display. And now we're seeing a lot of lawyers in the space step up, like Jake Chervinsky of the Blockchain Association, a very active crypto advocate, or blockchain advocate, I should say, in Washington. And he's saying the idea of the DOJ prosecuting investors for funding and supporting software developers is morally reprehensible, politically disastrous, and comically devoid of legal rationale. There's no excuse for the DOJ making a threat like this in open court. I hope the White House is watching. And obviously the Trump White House making a lot of promises to the Bitcoin sphere, freeing Ross Ulbricht, could see this and could really pull the kibosh on it. And software scales. It scales phenomenally. And we don't necessarily know how all users of software are going to enact and utilize it. For example, people do share a lot of terrible content on Facebook. Now, Facebook has a lot of moderators trying to review this, sift through it, but that is all to say, how can you look at the investors, right? Are we trying to disincentivize future investments into software? Are we really going to reduce the interest due to legal blowback of trying to build the next great thing? I mean, the second order effects of this could be just allowing China to take the reins in new software development. So there is a lot of fear coming out, especially in the investor circles. And then it's like, well, people create VPNs, right? Any sort of privacy technology is generally funded somehow. And to destroy this would put fear around not only building privacy-centric technology, funding it. I mean, this would be disastrous. We talk about an anti-CBDC bill, but this here is the core of the dilemma. We need people to confidently fund privacy. We need people to confidently build privacy. We need more privacy in our lives as the world opens up to the greater sharing of data, to more exploitation, to greater transparency, which we do want, but we also need to simultaneously maintain privacy. So this is all really coming to a head and the importance of this trial cannot be stressed enough. For cryptocurrency to succeed, privacy itself must succeed. If privacy fails, crypto fails. It's no longer an innovative platform. It's just an updated version of large-scale surveillance software. Without the privacy features of a blockchain, it is everything that we fear from a CBDC. Now that the prosecution has finally had a chance to rest its case, they did manage to defend the mistrial and the irrelevance of their first witness by bringing on the IRS agent who did the last in, first out methodology, which everyone really does agree is a useless mechanic. If we put drops of water into a bucket and then eventually pour that bucket into another cup, there's no way to say that the last water to enter the bucket is the first to come out, right? Same analogy extrapolates to a cookie jar. And this is just a bad mechanism for proving ownership, for proving consistency in something that is as liquid as digital assets. Now, the defense today finally has a chance to take the stage to make their point, and they've actually brought Van Loon, right, of Van Loon versus the Department of Treasury. So he is now up there discussing how important it is to utilize privacy services like the Tornado Cash Mixer, having won his case against the United States Treasury and getting Tornado Cash taken off the OFAC list. Van Loon discusses the 4 times that he actually used the Tornado Cash Mixer, basically saying, look, I am an Ethereum developer. My wallet is pretty obvious. I have a lot of capital in Ethereum. I wanted a way to add privacy so that I could go about and live my life, and that everything that I'm doing financially isn't visible for everyone, for nefarious actors, for people that want to rob him. And he's coming out with the case that won him against the US Treasury Department and is now doing this in defense of Roman Storm. So this is all ongoing right now. It's pretty ridiculous, but it is nice to see Hasib coming forth, adding volume to this conversation, and the industry is rallying behind him. We're seeing further venture capitalists defending him. We're seeing defenders of free speech of privacy defending him. And we are seeing the tech industry at large being like, hey guys, if this fails, then a lot of our capabilities to not only fund, but also to build new great technology and privacy preserving technology, this is massively important right now to protect all of that. Now, on the fun side, getting outside that conversation, we are seeing a massive hype explosion in CryptoPunks, the holy grail of the NFT space, the Warhols of digital art, if you will. And today we saw 809 ETH sweep, $3 million worth of the hoodie punks. That is a trait where they're all wearing hoodies. We've seen a 250 ETH single purchase of one with 2 rare traits, and 6 more sales, with the floor being up to around $180,000. So punks really did kind of bottom out around that 100K level, maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit more, and now it's kind of coming back, hitting $180,000 with a lot of these purchases just picking up speed. So are we looking at NFT season? Are we looking at a repricing of what we could call blue chip NFT assets? Hard to say, but it is certainly exciting because I do think the punk story is very akin to Bitcoin, right? They were given away for free to early Ethereum users. They've had an explosion in the past, and now they're kind of proving to have their longevity, right? There is a lot of value and a lot of cachet in holding a CryptoPunk. So exciting. I think it's bullish regardless how you look at it, but certainly fun. With that being said, enjoy your weekend. Don't over leverage. Stay safe out there, and I will see you on Monday.